Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we're taking a look at what will probably be the last new figure from Transformers Age of the Primes for this year. It is Deluxe Class Micronus Prime. Just so you know, the little guy right here, that's Micronus, since he's the prime of Minicons, Micromasters, etc., etc. Now, a few things I want to go over before we get into the meat of the review. And to be honest, I was going to do this as a 3-minute review, but I wanted to talk to you about a few things. Number one, as we all know, Micronus is a weaponizer, which basically means your enjoyment out of the figure is going to come down to how the tolerances are from all the components coming together. We also know that with over time and transformation, things will wear down a little bit quicker, and eventually this figure will become a little floppy. So that might be a deterrent for you. Also, having seen some other reviews, there might be little issues with the figure that I may not have an issue with, but that you might. And again, it comes down to tolerances and how much what you're expecting. I can tell you, just having transformed it a couple times, while the armor comes together quite well, there is an issue, and I think it is universal with Micronus, that the legs don't really tab together in its Minicon disc mode. But because of the translucent plastic and the use of metallic paint, it's actually kind of hard to notice. So with that being said, we are starting off in the unibike mode, and the instructions show that by bending the arms, what will be the arms, but in the bike mode they're exhaust, down, you can actually have this stand. And it does take up a much smaller shelf space. I mean, here's the whole thing in the palm of my hand. So it is rather small. Even though the armor was meant to make Micronus a little bit bigger and a normal deluxe size, even in the armor, the figure ends up being about what a deluxe mini bot is. It does roll very well, and this is quite impressive when you realize that the wheel section here is the legs. So they do have to fold up and tab together to form a wheel, and it rolls quite nicely, quite fluidly. So I guess to really get into the transformation more, we're going to start off with Micronus. And one thing I do also want to mention that I really appreciate, as a fan of motorcycles and motorcycle riding figures, one of the hardest things is always getting the figure on the motorcycle in a proper riding position, holding the handlebars, feet on the pads. And with Micronus, they do a very good job. The arms are designed well enough that they can rotate and grab the bars, and there are slots on the seat that the tabs on the legs can tab into and hold it in place. And the head being on, I think, a ball joint of sorts, allows it to position facing forward in a riding mode. So again, I do appreciate that. So putting the motorcycle armor out of the way, here is Micronus. And of course, it's, as I mentioned, predominantly clear plastic. I don't know how durable this will be over time, but here's the head, and the armor suit head is actually quite similar to this, but with a faceplate. And on the back here does have what kind of looks like a Tron data disc, which I think is kind of funny, seeing as how we're on the cusp of a new Tron movie being released. And let me see if I can zoom in here. There is its prime emblem right there, for the Minicons. So that does store on the figure's back, and that is the only item that comes wrapped separately. Micronus comes in the armored robot mode, and even the little figure is stored inside. So let me put this off to the side, because that does come into play in the robot mode. And you have ball joints in the shoulders, elbows, universal joint at the hips, and a ball joint at the knee. Now, interestingly enough, the head is on a ball joint. If we rotate it around, you might think you're supposed to push it down for the transformation, seeing as how that there's enough clearance there and a groove that accepts the head. Well, that's actually not accurate because that head actually plays a part in completing the circular nature of the mini-con disc. So once we have the head rotated like that, what you want to do now is bring the arms down out to the side, rotate and then bring them up like this, rotate them around on that ball joint, and then tuck them in, and then rotate the legs so they're facing out to the side, and these will fold up over the shoulders. And as I said, the legs are supposed to peg together at the bottom there, forming the like a little clip, and it does sort of get there, but it's not as perfect as it should be. And I don't know if it's a tolerance issue. They just, stuff doesn't want to hold, and of course, being clear plastic, you really don't want to force it. So that's the disc. We'll just put this right off to there, and we can bring in the bike. Now, it does break down into 3 components. First being the exhaust section here, which are the arms, and these can be cannons or whatever for other figures. There are articulation points there. Second, you do have this main section, so you want to flip those out to the side, and then just come in, and if you get one side of the wheel axle section unpegged from the wheel, it makes it a little bit easier to get the other section. Just like that. So here's the second section, which is the wheel, and if you just come in and unpeg it, there's a post that you can flip out, and this becomes like a shield of sorts. And then finally, keeping that somewhat straight, if you just flip up that seat section, fold out the axles, and bring it back down, this is the main section, which can form a backpack. Now, interestingly enough, they use the Aerialbot Fireflight to show how to armor a figure up. And what's interesting is Fireflight, it has specific tabs that are meant to work with this armor. So which makes me think that Micronus is only meant to be used with certain figures. I might do a little bit of a short to demonstrate how it all comes together. Now, to continue on into robot mode, we'll go ahead and flip up the head here. And as you can see what I'm talking about when I say the armored faceplate, put this off to the side, because now we come to the wheel and most of the transformation. And basically what you want to do is, with the teeth here facing upward, separate the wheel, bring it down. You can fold that tab back in or somewhat in until we'll wait until we're done, get it out of the way if you had it folded out. And as you notice, as you bring the legs down, you'll have this panel open up and then that panel. So that needs to happen so you can have enough clearance. And then at that point, you can just fold that tab in so it stays out of the way. Do it again on this side. Come around to the bottom here, and this tab, wherever it is, there it is, that's going to unpeg from there, flip up, and it will snap into place, and that will form the foot. So you can rotate the leg forward. And you can see how short these legs are, to become, the legs of Micronus, and how small overall Micronus will be. Next, either rotate the central section of the waist back, or just rotate the legs down so that the 2 prongs there are facing backwards. And now what you're going to do is slide it into this cavity right here. That will snap into place, and you're just about done. The next step is to take the Micronus in disc mode, there's the tab, the hole there where the prime emblem pegged in is now a post itself, and you can just tab it in there, fold down these side panels, and basically you're going to bring the chest up and over. You want to make sure that this section goes down last, but it kind of just latches together. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This bottom section here, the silver section, does on occasion have an issue pegging apart. You can just push it into place and it should work. Bring in the prime emblem, and this will tab in here. Make sure it's facing straightish. And just like that. Now, to be honest with you, when I've been trying to push this torso section together, I have actually popped it off the hinges just from using a little bit too much force. And that does not lock down the chest. The chest does tap together. The hole for the post on this prime emblem is attached solely to this side of the chest. With that done, go ahead and peg the arms in. And without further ado, here we have Micronus Prime. And like I said, it's a very small figure. Articulation, you do have the post there, and as you can see, as I begin to put any type of pressure on that lower section, so or anything right on the chest here, that bit wants to like spring open. So try to be a little ginger with your handling, if that makes sense. But you do have that outward movement. The bicep swivel does bend at the knee. The hand can hold something. Oh, and you know what? It even rotates there on the mushroom pegs. And you do have like finger blasters, which is kind of cool. The legs do actually have, you can do the full Van Damme, because that's some ankle split right there. How about that? So that's not bad. And you do have the knees. Nice knee movement right there. It is a universal joint at the hip. That's kind of cool. So, I mean, there is articulation. The head here can rotate. And it's on a bit of a panel here, so you do have a little bit of, waggle. So, there's that. I mean, it is articulated. There is stuff you can do, but a lot of that has to do with the tolerances of the joints now and how they'll hold up over time. But overall, I like Micronus. I think it's an interesting prime. I like, and as many people have said, this is kind of a proof of concept for a modern Pretender style design. Although I really hope if they do go with this, they're at least Voyager sized, and the armor just opens up. It doesn't transform. The internal robot just transforms. This, if they were going to use it, would be more along the lines of the Ultra Pretenders, the ones where like the inner robot and the outer robot transformed and then combined. Which, man, I really liked those back in the day. And that was without knowing anything about the Japanese fiction or whatever. They were really kind of cool. Even thought it would be cooler if they combined them with headmasters. But I sent the example to the suggestion to Hasbro. They sent me back a very nice letter declining. I got very upset. They actually sent me some nice stuff, like printouts or blueprints or something, like on the stationery. But I was so upset. I said I didn't want it. I was screaming hysterically. My mother's trying to calm me down, and I just tore it up in my hands. So I don't even remember what it was. I kind of wish I did, but I wouldn't even know who to ask. But just an aside. But yeah, Micronus, good figure. Now, I got this from Amazon. It is shipping now. As far as I know, Big Bad has not gotten their replenished stock yet of Micronus. They were shipping it out a few weeks ago. In terms of other retailers, I have not heard of other online retailers getting Micronus. Command Store does have it. Also, brick and mortar retail. I think I heard something about some Targets starting to get this Wave 3 of Age of the Prime Deluxes, but I'm not sure. Regardless, with that being said, I'm sure it'll start popping up sooner than later. And as we've talked about before, keep in mind, this is it. Wave 3 is the last wave of Age of the Primes for 2025. So there might be a little bit of delay of stores putting it on shelves because they want stuff out, new stuff out for the holiday season, but it will be coming. But that's it for the review. If you like this review, like, comment, and subscribe. Well, I always say I appreciate the views, the likes, comments, and subscriptions. Help communicate to YouTube through the algorithm that my channel should be exalted and held upon high. I also have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All it costs is $1 a month, $12 a year. I don't do any of those special incentives, thrills, or whatever. It's just you helping to support the channel if you'd like to, and I really hope you'd like to. But that's about it. Once again, this is your old pal Chuck reminding you, play with your toys. They're just more fun that way. For Micronus Prime, we will see you next time.